Hey guys, welcome back. It's Nick again here at J-Tech. Well, today what I'm going to do is do a couple air brake tests on this truck. Pretty simple. Just want to make sure the air system and the brake system is working properly. It's pretty easy, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is the low pressure warning signal test. Essentially what that's going to do is an alarm on the dash is going to go off if the air pressure drops anywhere 60 or below PSI. So right now, with the truck running, I'm about 120. So I'm gonna go ahead and pump these brakes down and see if the alarm will go off. Let's go. And there you go. So the low pressure alarm works. So you know, that's a good thing. It lets you know you need to stop your vehicle before something catastrophic happens. So let's move on to the next thing. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to ensure that my spring brake is going to come on automatically if my PSI drops below 20 and 40 PSI. So I'm going to continue pumping these brakes. We're going to watch and see if the spring brake comes on automatically once I get below the right level. So here we go. First I got to release it. There's my alarm. Hey, it works. Perfect. Moving on to the next thing. What I'm going to do now is check the air pressure buildup. So what I want to do is have the air pressure between 80 to 100 PSI. I'm sure you can hear the beeping now, so I'll wait for it to go up. So between 180 PSI and what I want to do at low idle, it should build up to the proper level within 25 seconds. At low idle at 45 seconds, at high idle at 25 seconds. So, let's see what happens. I'll wait for it to get to 85. So let's see what happens now. There we go, perfect. Moving on to the next thing. But just so you know, that went from 85 to 100 at high idle in about 15 seconds, so that's pretty good. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna do my leak down test. And what I'm gonna do is build the pressure up to, 120 PSI and turn the vehicle off. And then I'm gonna watch it and make sure it doesn't leak more than 3 pounds in a minute. If I can stay within that range, then that's an acceptable leak down test for the air system. And then, after I conduct that test, the next thing I'm gonna wanna do is check the cut in and cut out of the compressor. So I would let the air charge to about 125 PSI. Make sure the compressor cuts out. You'll hear it out of the bottom of the truck going from the compressor. And then pump the brakes back down to about 100 PSI. And at that point, watch the gauge, and it should cut back in. You should start to see your gauges rise again. 100 to 90 PSI, you can cut it. Watch your gauges and see if they start rising again. And that's acceptable there. And then the other test I'm going to want to do is check my parking brake. Sorry. So with this test, what I'm going to do is make sure my air brakes are fully functional. At this point, we've done everything to ensure that everything is working properly before we can put the vehicle in gear. So right now I'm sitting at about 120 psi in my primary and secondary tank. And what I would do is I would go ahead and release my brake, put the truck in first, and I would attempt to pull forward. That's wrong. The last thing I'm gonna do is check my parking brake. So what I would do is make sure my air is charged about 120 psi. We've done all the proper tests to make sure it's safe to put our vehicle in gear at this point. I would leave my brakes. I would leave my parking brake popped out, engaged, right? And I would put the vehicle in first, ease off the clutch just a little bit to make sure that the spring brakes are going to hold the vehicle in place and ensure the spring brakes are working. I've actually conducted this test on this truck not too long ago, within, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, and it works fine. So that's pretty much it for testing the brakes. It's real simple. I mean, it'll take you 20 minutes to do if you do it right. You know, it'll save your life if you do it right. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, guys.